But we're back with Ryan Van Deusen. We're going to just this is a part two because the other night we were fortunate enough to have his better half with him. And so we kind of talked about things from the wife's perspective. Tonight we want to get a little bit more in the weeds with the end of his career. We kind of touched on it, but we want to kind of go into the end of his career and retirement. And then some broader topics, some political stuff and some geopolitical things and whatever like that. So Ryan, I think the last thing that we talked about the other night was your time in Philly. Do you want to kind of pick up from there and just tell everybody like kind of what happened next and how and where you kind of ended up at the end of your career?
Yeah, so I finished up in Philadelphia in 2018. My wife, who was with me that night, she was working for a company there outside of Philly with grown-ups or adults with intellectual disabilities. We talked about her nose being broken and different things she went through. But about 2 weeks prior to the movers coming to our house in Philadelphia, to move back down here to Greensboro, which was something, we talked about, we did a lot of praying about and decided to bid on it. It was the resident agent in charge position down here. And we felt like maybe the Lord was leading us, so we put in for it and we got it. I was able to get the job. So about 2 weeks before the movers came to pack us up and move us, Rebecca actually fell and hit her head very hard. I was actually on a trip out in Oklahoma, I believe, at the time, and was getting phone calls. I thought they were prank calls, somebody trying to sell me a car warranty or something, but it was actually the hospital. She was got knocked out. She was out for about 45 minutes, took an ambulance ride, and woke up in the emergency room, and she was in the ICU for 5 days with bleeding on her brain. And this was 2 weeks before we were supposed to move. So that occurred. So it made the moving process much more difficult for us. As easy as the government, does it, it's still difficult when you have someone that's just went through a very bad medical incident. So we moved into temporary housing down here in Greensboro, eventually moved into our home. And Rebecca hasn't been able to work because of the head injury that she has. But then I took over the agent in charge responsibilities here in Greensboro, a small office. Where we did a lot of criminal work and then obviously the protection work. It was a lot slower protection-wise here than it was in Philadelphia, which was nice. And it was nice being able to do a lot more on the criminal end with some of the guys in the office. So that occurred, and then a year and a half or 2 years into it, COVID hit. And everything was, kind of strange. Scott, you were on the job then too still. And I remember we went to Charlotte to shoot and do some training with our new weapons and everything, and all of a sudden it was, I think they said 2 weeks to slow the curve or something. Remember that?
Yep.
And so we all kind of went back to our offices, and the office kind of ended up shutting down. There were still some of us that were going in, but then you're social distancing, you're cleaning everything. And then Biden got into office, and the first thing he did, one of the first things I think I remember, is him wanting to really force this shot on federal employees in the military. So that became a lot of a big stressful situation, knowing that now you're going to possibly have to take this shot that in my opinion hadn't been really proven yet. It was brand new technology. Or maybe not new technology, but the shot itself was new. There wasn't really any studies done on the side effects or anything that had occurred. So, there's a lot of stuff going through my mind. I didn't want to take the shot, but I felt like my hand was being forced, even though we were being told, hey, we're not forcing it on you. If you want the shot and you want to keep your job, then you can take the shot. If you don't want the shot, then that's your choice and you're going to lose your job. So, I had a wife that couldn't work per se anymore, so that kind of put a lot of pressure on you. You got a couple kids in college, and you're thinking about what's the right thing to do. I waited till the very last day of his. I don't even know what it was. His forcing of it, and on the very last day, I ended up rolling up my arm and took the shot. I know there's lots of talk between us and other guys about different exemptions to take, but for me, it was more of a constitutional issue. I felt as though it was my body, my choice, as we hear thrown around a lot. And I didn't want to take it, but, I prayed about it and rolled up my sleeve and took the shot.
Well, I mean,
And then
listen,
I
I
ended
think
up
a lot of people did.
putting in my
What? I'm sorry.
no, and then I ended up putting in my retirement papers probably 6 months later, or something like
Okay.
that, 8 months
Well, I know
later.
we're
But
gonna
yeah,
get into some.
you were gonna say.
Yeah, we're gonna get into some really good stuff here in a second. I know, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing, man. Hindsight is 2020, and we talked about this offline a lot, and I can see it in your face, and I can hear it in your voice, and I know you're a little downtrodden about it, but like you can't live in the past. And I know I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but don't beat yourself up, man. I mean, a lot of people were forced into that nonsense. I know I'm in the extreme minority of people who did not do it, but a lot of people did do it. And it is what it is, and so we just have to move forward. So let's talk about that now. Again, Ryan nor I are medical professionals. I'm a little bit more of a knuckle dragger than he is. I think Ryan's definitely smarter than I am, but we're law enforcement
I don't
guys
know about
and
that.
not doctors. So disclaimer to the fact checkers out there: these are things that we've experienced and some of our research and some of our opinions. So I can't wait for you to kind of delve into what you're about to say about the big C word and some of the medicines. So why don't you just take us where we just left off? You were talking about getting the shot and you didn't want it, and then the retirement, and then what happened after that?
Yeah, so I ended up getting the shot. I think the second one we had to get was maybe in November, I want to say. Um, Took that and then really, I didn't really feel anything from the shot, but I just never felt at peace about taking the shot. And then probably 4 to 5 months later, I go in for my doctor's visit with the urologist, and he feels a lump on my prostate, and immediately he's like, "Hey, you're still young. I wouldn't be too concerned about it, but for safety's sake, I think the best course of action is to be aggressive with this, and let's go and do a biopsy on it just to make sure it's not cancer for the lump that he felt on the left side of the prostate." So I honestly, I've kept myself in what I consider pretty decent shape throughout my whole career. I always wanted to be somebody that could be counted on and have somebody's back, and also, with the protectee. But so I wasn't that worried about it. You try to eat healthy, you work out, and go in for the biopsy. A month and a half or 2 months later, and the biopsy results come back, and I open up the my chart before the doctor gets in touch with me and read it, fully expecting not to have any issue there, but it comes back as I think it was the left upper quadrant contained cancer. So, my heart sinks into my belly. I can't believe I'm young. I'm young like I am, and you got the cancer word, and the first thing I'm thinking of is that stupid shot that I took. Everything was fine up until then, but obviously you can't prove it. You don't know that that's what it was. It could have been in me already for all I know. But the first thing I'm thinking of is the shot. And then you got other friends that are coming down with. I have two friends that both came down with heart issues as soon as they took the shot. Within months of the shot, where one had to go in and get a pacemaker put in, and the other one's having ablations done on his heart, and his heart's constantly going into AFib. But of course, can't prove that it was a shot. Can't say that it was a shot. And then I get the cancer. So now I'm dealing with the cancer, and now and I had a second biopsy. At this point, I'd put in my paperwork to retire. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'm punching out now, because now you start seeing life in a little bit different light. Your time on earth and what's important in your time. So I put in the paperwork, and within a week of putting in the paperwork, I'd gotten two different phone calls from individuals about jobs. So the Lord was working through it, but now I'm dealing with this cancer in the back of my mind the whole time. So I can go through kind of the process, but when you get something like that, every 6 months now you're going in for. I went in for an MRI. I
Hey, Ryan,
think
sorry. What year?
that was probably.
Sorry, what year were you first
This would have
diagnosed?
been 2022.
Okay, so 2 years ago.
I think it was like March or April of 22, and I think we had to get the shots in November of 21 was the last round of shots. So
Yeah,
you had to have the second shot in by a certain date in November. So
yeah.
it was probably Probably 6 months after the shot is when I got the diagnosis.
Yeah.
But through the diagnosis, I had to get two different biopsies on the prostate, which is no fun if anybody's had the biopsies. Um, where they go in there and they take pieces of your prostate out and then they test it for cancer. And of course, it came back positive both biopsies. The first one that I did, and then 6 months later, they did another one, also still contained the cancer. And then I did an MRI, and the MRI showed cancer. And then you read stuff back and forth. Hey, is an MRI better, or the biopsy's better? They both have their pros and cons, but I think a lot of the stuff I read was that the MRI is a very good picture of your prostate and can show that where the cancer is, and gives that 3D picture versus just going in there and picking pieces of your prostate out. So I had cancer diagnosed in 22. Probably April May timeframe of 22 when the first biopsy came back. So then you're thinking about, well, you talk to the oncologist, talks to you that you have the options of radiation, you have the options of chemotherapy. There's a new seed technology that's out where they put a little chemo seed or something in the prostate, and that kills the cancer. So you're talking through all this stuff with the doctors, and you're just kind of like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually talking about this, and giving you the different options. So what Rebecca and I decided to do was we were going to do a active surveillance of it, because it was a 6 out of 10 on the Gleason score and a stage 1. So it was early cancer. The cancer that they tested came back as a slow growing cancer, not a fast growing cancer. So at my age, I wasn't willing to lose my prostate yet. So I said, let's do active surveillance. We'll see if it's spreading. We'll see if it grows, and that sort of thing. And then in the meantime, I just started looking up different stuff on the internet, what I could find, talking to different people, and came across ivermectin, which is something we all heard about right during COVID. I think I think Trump actually talked about ivermectin some, and there was another drug too that was used. So some of the stuff that I read on ivermectin was that some of the studies that these doctors had shown was a 70% heal rate with cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer specifically, and there's other ones in there that I can't remember. Obviously, the one that I really know is because it was prostate. So I sat on that for probably another 6 or 8 months. Talked to a buddy at church, Matt, who was really into the ivermectin thing, and then another buddy of mine who you probably know. He was on the job and retired, and he had sent me a text when I was out mowing the lawn, and he's like, "Hey, you should really look into this ivermectin thing." And so I was like, you know what? What's it going to hurt? Why not try it? So I went and didn't tell my doctor what I was doing, but I went, and you got to go to a feed store or a cattle store or whatever, and picked up a bottle of ivermectin, liquid ivermectin, and I pull it out in a syringe. You don't stick yourself with it, but I just put it like in a little cup of juice, moved it around, and swallowed it. But I couldn't find anywhere on the internet where it would talk about, like, I knew my dosage, like how much dosage I should take, but you really can't find anywhere where it tells you how often you should take the dose. Is it every day for a week or for 2 weeks and then you're done, or is it every other day? So I just, one week I would take it 3 days, and the next week I might take it 2 days, and then I think the most days I ever took it in a row was like 5 days in a row. And I just kind of did that off and on for like the next probably 6 months or so, just kind of dabbling with it and trying it out. And then, looking forward to my next doctor's appointment, just curious to see if something was going to happen. And within the last 2 weeks, I had an MRI done for my 2 year, I guess, yeah, it would be 2 years. And the MRI came back as nothing there. It was gone.
Let's go.
So they didn't see it anymore. Yeah, praise the Lord, huh?
Yeah, praise the Lord.
So
and then you went
extremely
today,
elated.
and you went today too, right?
Today I went back for the follow up, yeah, with my doctor, yeah, and he
And
said,
what?
yeah, it's not showing up on the MRI.
Boom. See,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
and
the
boom,
Lord.
yeah, but I didn't.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I didn't bother to tell him kind of what I was doing, because I kind of got a feel 6 months ago that he wasn't. I'd mentioned, hey, have you ever heard of ivermectin? And he goes, yeah, but I would never recommend that. It hasn't been tested. It hasn't been approved.
Bull crap. Yes,
Which
it
I know
has.
it's been tested. I know there's lots of, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so I've
good
just kind of kept
grief.
my mouth shut about it and kept it to myself.
Idiots.
And I'm not a medical doctor. This is just something I decided to try on my own just to
Yeah.
see if it would work. But yeah, I met with him today and he said, yeah, the MRI results are showing that it's not there anymore and there's nothing new.
Was
So, he goes, you're in really good shape. And Scott, my PSAs went down and I know the PSAs jump depending on what you're doing, what you've eaten. It's not a great score, but it is a tool in the toolbox they use.
yeah.
That went down a whole point, and
Yeah.
that wasn't high to begin with. I think it was 2.6. It was 2.5, 2.6 for like the last year,
Yeah.
2 years actually, and it went down to 1.6. So I lost a whole point on that, as well as them not being able to see the cancer anymore on my prostate. So yeah, praise the Lord. And
Yeah.
if it helps somebody and they decide they want to do it on their own and try it, then by all means try it. But I'm no doctor. I'm not sitting here telling anybody to do it. But
Yeah.
if that's what you think you want to do, I wouldn't tell you no.
I mean,
just read up on it and learn about it.
well, see, that's the thing, Ryan. Like, very similar situation to yourself. Like, I don't have cancer that I know of, but the point I'm making is when we were being forced to take the shot, which I didn't take, and then I got transferred back here to North Carolina. It was a big to do. It took 2 years for my wife and I to get COVID, but we finally got it in like January of 22, and we had it bad. And we could not get ivermectin. We tried really hard to get some. We finally found a physician that would prescribe it, and then the pharmacist denied it. And I didn't know pharmacists could just override doctors' orders, but they were real jerks about it. And I ended up getting some, and it cost me like $700. The thing about it is this ivermectin is about a penny a pill, and that's why Big Pharma doesn't push it, because I was forced to do tons and tons of research because I was trying to preserve my job. And no, I'm not a medical professional, but it's called research and not just being a sheep. And I learned so much about medicines and different doctors and their thesis, and even like Dr. Malone, who was the creator of the mRNA, was like, we got to tap the brakes here, fellas. And Dr. Peter McCullough and all these people that when I talk to my friends that are in the medical field, they don't even know who I'm talking about. I'm like, stop being a doggone sheep. But, I'm not trying to get on a soapbox about that. The point is, this stuff works. I mean, remember CNN was making fun of Joe Rogan, and they said he was eating horse paste. Sounds to me like you actually were. But here's a news flash that you'll probably think is interesting. I have a cousin of mine who he and his family currently today are taking ivermectin in the form that you just talked about once a month because they're trying to stay healthy. He said he hadn't had a cold in 2 years.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's done for us too. My wife's also taking it, and yeah, my allergies have pretty much subsided. Spring allergies, fall allergies, I don't have it. If I go get on a plane, which I'm still doing, I'll usually take a hit of it before I get on the plane, and not getting sick. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of guys are getting sick on these flights.
Oh,
But
yeah.
is it the ivermectin? I feel like it is, and there's a lot of people like you that are taking this once a month, or they might take it every couple of weeks just to keep sicknesses away from them, and it seems to be working from the stuff I've read.
Yeah. Well,
It's all about money.
Oh, yeah.
And big pharma.
Well, we both know all too well about the military-industrial complex, but I would argue that there's the pharmaceutical one as well. And one of the things I never could figure out is, I'm not a Bernie Sanders guy by any means, but Bernie Sanders was always against big pharma until COVID hit, and then that guy was like crickets. Where'd he go? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where was Bernie Sanders raising hell about big pharma? He was nowhere to be found. And I just, anytime the media is chirping about something and making fun of somebody like Joe Rogan, who was definitely not a conservative by any stretch of the imagination back then, he's kind of come around. I mean, he was a big Bernie Sanders guy. He wasn't a big Trump guy. And they're turning their backs on each other. And making fun. I mean, it's all about dollars, right? And it's just it's very troubling. But anyway, I couldn't wait for you to share that story because we had talked about it, and I got a little goosebump action going when you told me that story the other night, and then today you told me that you'd gone back and it's not showing. Did the doctor have like a head scratching moment? Like, do you know if he's a believer, or I don't know if you've gotten into a conversation like that with him or not? Is he completely baffled, or?
No, he just said, "Hey, you're in." He wouldn't. I think that they're probably very careful to come out and say that it's gone.
Yeah, sure.
And then have it come back.
Sure.
So he's probably going to be very cautious in that manner.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Joe Rogan. Chris Cuomo was on CNN, was a big hater and stuff on the ivermectin, and I don't know if you've seen this, but I've heard that he's taken it now. But he won't come out and apologize for making fun of people that took it.
They don't
He's
understand
actually
irony.
taking it. And that was probably part of my problem too. Like you said, you had caught COVID in January of 22. I caught it in December of 21. So my big thing, I think maybe it was December of 20. I forget, but I had it before the shots. So my big beef was, hey, I've already had it. I've got the antibodies for it, but now all of a sudden the antibodies don't matter. No, you still need to get the shot.
Yeah.
And people were still getting the shot and still getting sick with COVID. And before it was like, if you get it, that's the best way to prevent it in the future, and your body will fight it better. So that was my argument. Like, why do I have to get this? I've already had it.
Yeah. Well, here's
but it was done. And
here's the thing, Ryan.
Go ahead.
I know. Sorry, guys. There's a little bit of a delay here. It's almost like I'm in Afghanistan talking to him. I'm sorry. My internet's terrible. It's like we're gonna follow the science until we disagree with it, right? You can't make this crap up.
Yeah, and as former cops or criminal investigators with the government, we're no doctors, but at the same time, we all had this sense that just it wasn't right.
Yeah.
Some of us, even the ones that believed that hook, line, and sinker, you knew in the back of their minds, they knew something wasn't right, but they rolled up. Some of these guys went out right away, and I mean, not just our guys, all over the country. Family members just rolled up their sleeves and took it like it was, trustworthy. But I think that, when you really, I don't know, just my spidey senses, I guess, were going off about the whole thing. It just felt, if you've got to coerce people to take this, if you've got to give people money to take it, you're going to talk about people losing their jobs if you don't take it, then, well, are they going to take our pensions away? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
If you have to go through all that, then to me, something is amuck. There's something that's not right with this.
Yeah. No, 100%. So it's been, what you said, about 2.5 years or something like that, I think, is basically for your first diagnosis to now we're around 2.5 year mark. And have you ever at any point felt sluggish or tired? Did you ever do any of the chemo or any of that stuff, or you just kind of monitored it first? Did you ever do any of the hardcore stuff, or?
No, I never did. Those were options. The radiation, they say the radiation is good, but if they don't get it, I guess it makes your prostate extremely hard and then difficult to remove. So that was an option. And then removing it was another option, or going through chemo. But for me, that just, it was in the early stages too of it. So I just didn't at 50 want to go through having that removed. Yeah. And I've heard stories of guys that have had it removed, and that wasn't something that I wanted to deal with at this young age of 50.
Yeah. Well,
so I opted not to do that and monitor it.
Well, I don't know who sent you that text, but I'm glad he did, and I'm glad you shared it with me. In the last, I guess, couple weeks ago, probably you texted me some information, and I'm certainly anyway. Again, we are not medical professionals. We don't even play one on TV, but we just wanted to share experience, some of our life experiences, and it is what it is, right? And the thing is, we're not going to be able to ever prove any of this stuff, whether it was the shot that had the cancer or the myocarditis or the whatever. See, my mom got the first shot, And the next morning she woke up with COVID, and now she's on heart medicine, and she's 80 years old now.
Yeah,
But
see,
she never had any heart
it doesn't
issues
make
ever.
sense.
So, and I don't,
Yeah, and that's
I
the
don't
thing.
believe in, I don't believe in coincidences personally. As I've gotten older, I don't know, man. We could go on and on about this forever. Like, I just think that it's almost like we've had role reversal. Remember back when we were growing up on MTV and they were like rock the vote and stop censorship because the rich old white guy was the Republicans and they were stodgy, and then the pop stars and the athletes and all the cool people and the blue collar guys were the Democrats. Well, it's flip flopped, and it's like anything that when I say they, I mean big pharma, the government, whatever they're basically telling me, the CDC and all these other knuckleheads, the NIH, I'm going to do the freaking opposite, bro.
Yeah, you hear and you read stuff, and it sounds like it's in our foods. The stuff that they're putting in our food supply that isn't in other countries' food supplies. They won't even allow some of the
No.
ingredients that we allow in ours, and it's almost. So then you start. Are they trying to make us sick
Yes.
so that we can spend money on
Yes.
doctors and on
Yes.
pharmaceuticals?
Yes.
And it's this ever revolving cycle, and yet you're looked at is maybe we're crazy. That's how they try to make you out to be.
I know.
But I'm hoping RFK gets in there and is able to make some changes.
Listen, I know it's only just been over 2 weeks or whatever. Maybe it's been 2 weeks today, but it's like, I feel like we're back, baby. You know that scene from, oh God, what's it? The Hangover, when they found their guy. It's like, we're back, baby. I just feel like we're back, and he's not even in office.
Yeah.
We've got to get 45. Definitely needs to become 47, because by God, 46 is trying to put us in World War III, which we can talk about that too if you want to. It doesn't matter to me. We've kind of been all over the place tonight, but we have got to get ourselves squared away. One of the things I did want to say real quick, and you can kind of elaborate on this too if you've had some experience with this. I know you've always been a healthy guy. I've kind of struggled with my weight a little bit over the years. I'm on the wrong side of 50, so my metabolism has slowed down, and I have really been watching my diet. I've always worked out, but I've kind of not been great with my diet sometimes, and so I'm in the process of losing some weight. But I have basically cut out almost all my sugar, and I've been doing a lot of research on sugar as well. And like that is a key ingredient for cancer as well. I don't know if you've run across that information or not.
Yeah, I have. I've heard the same thing, that sugar feeds cancer. And sugar's in everything that we eat, drink. So yeah, that's something I tried to clean up. Something else I did, Scott, was I started doing more fasting because I'd done some reading on fasting and the benefits of that. I ended up doing a 3-day water fast.
Wow.
In the last 6 months, which it's really all mental. But I did drink black coffee and water for 3 days and and it really cleans out your system. It's supposed to be getting rid of the bad cells and uses your body cells that have fat stored up in it to survive. And then eventually starts kicking out the cancer cells too. So I'm thinking, well, I'll try that.
Yeah.
Coupled with the ivermectin, maybe some of that will help. So I did do some of that as well, not just the ivermectin. I tried to clean up my diet some more, stay away from sugars because I knew that fed it. And then I did some intermittent fasting and worked my way up to that 3-day water fast. And then, again, that's all mental. But to me, it was worth it if I could get rid of this naturally,
Yep.
And not have to get it removed or go through chemo or radiation, because really that's killing your good cells too, not just your bad cells. Kills all the cells.
Yeah. Well,
so I use that stuff
go ahead. Sorry.
with it all together.
Yep. No, that's good. One of the things again, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true, right? So you got to be careful with the old Google machine. But one of the things I did see and I fasted for 24 hours over the election this past time, and prayed instead of eating, praying and everything. I only did 24 hours. But as I got to my 24-hour mark, I felt like I could have kept going. I felt pretty good, but I'm like, I had said I was going to do 24 hours, so I did 24 hours. But I have also seen where they say if you do a 3-day water fast, that can potentially decrease your chances of having cancer by up to 70%. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I read, and I'm gonna work my way up to it as well.
Yeah, I read that as well. And really, it's all mental. I did the 24-hour fast too, like you did. I know we were sending texts back and forth, and then my wife and I did communion the night of. I think you probably did. Is that what you did as well?
No, I did not do communion. I just ate.
Okay. Yeah, it's always, and that's what it is. Mentally, you knew you could have kept going,
Oh, I was fine.
but
Yeah.
mentally, you'd prepared yourself for 24 hours. So you were ready to eat at the end of 24. It was the same thing. When I got hungry, I just would pound water.
Yeah.
But you got to start putting some salt, some Himalayan salt or Celtic salt. You need to put some kind of sodium into your water, especially coming into day two. Um, but it wasn't that bad, man. And they say that your body starts, is it human growth hormone? I think it starts making at the end of that 3 day. I can't remember if that's what it was. And if I would have gone longer, more of that would have been starting to be developed as well. But again, mentally, I prepared for that 3 day. And you're like, man, I haven't eaten in 3 days. I couldn't wait to get some food in me.
Yeah.
But I felt the same way you did after 24. I'm like, I think I could keep going
Yeah.
if I wanted to.
I mean, if you think about, Jesus going into the wilderness to fast 40 days prior to his start of his ministry. I mean, I can't imagine 40 days. I mean, that's a long time. Have you ever given any thought to that? Like, let's switch gears just for a second and talk about our faith. Do you have it? And you may know, I don't know the answer. Why he had to fast or chose to fast for 40 days? Do you know the relevancy behind that number?
40 days. No, I don't off the top of my head. Do you, or are you just asking me?
No, I don't know. And I just, the Bible's full of numbers that mean things, right? 40, like 40-day fast. And I think didn't the flood when Noah was here, didn't it rain for 40 days or something like that? And then when Jesus arose from the dead, he was on earth for 40 days before he ascended back into heaven. The number 444 is supposed to represent angels. The numbers 8 and 7 have relevancy. Of course, we know 666 is the mark of the beast and all that weird stuff. So, I mean, I just didn't know if you knew a little bit about that, because I've always kind of wondered.
No, I'm not. It is an interesting question. I'm surprised that we don't know. But yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. No, I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, I was just curious. Well, Ryan, we are at 34 minutes. We can wrap it up, or we can talk about anything Is there anything you want to get off your chest, or is there anything else that you'd like to maybe share with somebody, if somebody's watching this, that you could give them a word of encouragement about, or we can just wrap it up?
Yeah, I would think, if you have it, the cancer, I would, the big tech obviously is I think making it more difficult to find some of this stuff, but it can be found. I would look for that stuff. Look for alternative methods. Get off the sugar for sure. Look at doing fasting. Look at the ivermectin if that's a route you want to go. Like you had an issue with your doctor or the pharmacy even issuing it. The cattle feed stores have it, and a lot of people are going in there and buying it because that's the only place they can get it.
Yeah.
But it's cheap. I mean, you said you paid hundreds of dollars for yours. I paid $100 for a bottle that is still going, and it's lasted me 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's super cheap. It's not I thought, what do I have to lose?
Sure.
I saw something the other day too that people are worried about overdosing on ivermectin. And again, I'm no doctor, but I saw somewhere else where it said that it's easier a doctor was up testifying and said that it's easier to overdose on Tylenol than it is ivermectin.
Yeah.
That's how safe of a drug it is.
Yeah.
It actually won a Nobel Peace Prize.
Of course it did.
But you don't hear about this. And then guys that were putting it down like Cuomo, he's using it. There's something there with it.
Yeah. I wish I had it off the top of my brain, and now because of this interview, I'm going to go look it up, because I know some jackass will make a comment about it. But it's cured pretty much every virus and every disease known to man over in Africa, and those people have lots of things to deal
Yes.
with, and it eradicated COVID in India. There was I forget which town it was or the province over there. They basically had, and India's got how many people? I don't know, 1 billion people or 2. I don't know. India's packed.
Yeah.
And these dudes had like 0 cases of COVID during the height of everything, and we're running around over here like chickens with our head cut off. Again, the bottom line is it's basically about a penny a pill, and that's why they didn't want us having it. It's sick. Not to mention, one thing we didn't talk about, we can kind of talk about for a second if you want to, is like Bill Gates and his crazy agenda and the planet being overpopulated. I personally think this was done on purpose. Again, we may or may not ever know. I think the Chinese did it on purpose, or someone did it on purpose. And anytime they talk about climate change, or you can't call it global warming anymore because we still get snow, but climate change, that to me is code for population control. And these people are completely off their rocker, and they want, there's going to be the haves and then the have-nots. They don't want a middle class, right? So that's why they're trying to, I think they're trying to kill us off personally.
Sure makes you wonder, doesn't it? Makes you wonder if they're trying to use that population control. And, as believers, we know this kind of stuff's going to happen in the end times. So it's hard to believe that maybe we're living through some of this stuff. But we also have to remember where we put our trust and our faith in. And this world is not ours. Our world is God's kingdom up above.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be living for. And we know that this kind of stuff's going to happen down here because it's full of sin and evil. I mean, man is evil.
Yeah.
Covetousness. That's something else I don't understand. But yeah, I'm with you on all of it.
Yeah. I mean, and the only thing I would like to say to anybody out there that's listening that maybe you're a believer, maybe you're not, the Bible tells us, Jesus said it in red letters, you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. There's going to be earthquakes and famines and all these things. They have to happen. So, that's why I think it's important to get right with the Lord. So when this nonsense, because 100% of people die. Okay, unless you're on this earth when he comes back, 100% of people die. So my thing is, one of the things I'm trying to do with this podcast is just spread a little bit of hope into a dark world, and then expound on our faith a little bit when we can, and maybe lead somebody to Christ. Because I mean, there are people out there that I don't particularly care for, and I know people that don't like me or whatever, but I don't want anybody going to hell. I just don't. I mean, if God can save Saul and turn him into Paul, anybody could be saved,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that there is no truth anymore. People don't know what is true, because politicians are lying, people are lying. We don't know who's telling the truth. And the COVID thing, was a huge evidence of the whole thing. What's true? Why is this all of a sudden I can't use this? Why do I have to do this? Why are you telling me this, but now you're telling me B, even though before you told me A?
Yeah.
And truth in today's world is subjective. And truth, that's completely counterintuitive of what truth is. Truth is objective. It's outside of what you might think or what you might believe. It's truth. I can say that I'm Superman, and I can believe that I'm Superman, and I'm going to jump off the roof of my house and fly, but I'm going to jump off the roof of my house and gravity's going to take over, and I'm going to kill myself when I hit the ground. It doesn't matter what I think. The truth is I'm going to fall down and kill myself. Truth is outside of what someone believes, and it can go, it's real big with gender right now. I think I'm a woman, or I think I'm a man, or, they've got the fur babies or whatever, they think they're a cat or a dog. I mean, that's not what you are. That's not what you were born as. But they've shaded truth. Satan has taken that, and just like he did in the Garden of Eden, that's not really what God said. God said, you're going to have your eyes open and you'll be like God. He took away truth. And I think that's what's hard to decipher now in the world. And it's good to know that we have the Word of God, that we have truth, that we know what our end is going to be. We know that this kind of stuff is going to happen, and we've got to deal with it. And it's going to hopefully get better here, but we all know it's going to get worse
Oh
before the
yeah.
Lord comes.
Oh yeah. And to be completely transparent, I was just hoping I wouldn't be here for any of it. But I mean, I think, you know,
Yeah.
before Trump got shot, and then when he got shot and didn't die, I thought, okay, maybe the Lord's going to redeem us and use him to help. I don't know, but you know, I think we're definitely at a tipping point, you know, a crossroads, whatever you want to call it. And I really felt like God was just ready to smite us. And I mean, I think He will eventually, of course. But right now, it looks like we've been redeemed. And I don't mean because Donald Trump is the savior. That's not what I'm saying. I just think he's going to use him. I mean, you know, Donald Trump's got flaws just like the rest of us, but I mean, we talked about it a second ago. The Apostle Paul was killing Christians left and right when he was Saul, and God got a hold of his heart. So, you know, who's to say what's going to happen? But I think we were on the wrong track, and now it feels like we're kind of back on the right track. So I just hope that the general populace can get themselves together, and then, you know, maybe just start living for God and bringing God back into the classroom and back into, like, this whole thing about separation of church and state. That's not a thing. That's not what the
Mm-hmm.
forefathers said, and it's gotten twisted and contorted. And now, you know, you can't talk about politics at church. No, you definitely should, because the other side's talking about it. And if you're not going to stand up for moral and ethical things, which are things of God, who's going to? And the answer is nobody.
Yep. Absolutely. I am the way, the truth, and the life. He is the truth,
Yeah,
and it's absolute.
yeah,
It's outside of what any of us think, what the media tells us. You know, you got to be careful what you're watching and reading. You want to be aware of it, but you know, I think there's a lot of falsehoods being
oh yeah,
propagandized to the population.
sure. Well, you know, I've been doing a better job of reading my Bible. Try to get up every morning and read it before I go to work. Been doing that for a while now, and I feel better by doing that. Um, but you know, it says right in there, many will fall away in the end times, many. Uh, and I'm like, man, I hope that's not me. So I'm just trying to put my blinders on and keep my head down, you know.
Yep, know the truth. Know the truth.
Well, Ryan,
I appreciate you having me, Scott.
oh man, guys, awesome, dude. I know we talk, you know, we don't talk a lot, but we talk on a regular basis, texting and different things. But it's really good to see you and talk to you, and thank you for your time again. Give your company one more plug, and then we're going to link it into the video as well.
Vantage Point Defense is the name of the company. VantagePointDefense.com is the website.
Okay. Well,
Appreciate it.
we'll link that in the video, and hopefully get you some business, buddy.
Okay, appreciate you,
Okay.
Scott. Thank you.
Take care,
You
Ryan.
have a good
Thank you,
night.
buddy. All right, buddy.